me just, there we go. Better? We can turn, so at this moment, turn off your cell phones, put them on vibrate if you need to be aware of someone calling you. Except for our wonderful George, who's going to keep his on because he's going to be letting people in soon. If you're not familiar with this room or this building, there are bathrooms. There's one bathroom behind at the end of the hallway. There are some other bathrooms upstairs. So if you need, how many people here know the bathroom, who know the building? So look around if you're not familiar with the building and you need help with that. That would be great. Just so you know that we can't turn the overhead fans on because there's some people who I can get closer. Oh, wow, very good. Every mic is different. Cell phones off, bathrooms, location, and the overhead fans are going to stay off. As we begin, many of us may need to keep our phones on vibrate for different reasons, or we have people that we have concerns about, or we just want to keep in our hearts today who may not be able to come, may not even be able to be on the stream. So we just wanted to take a moment of quiet to think about those people that you want to hold in your heart today, that you have concerns about, that need our thoughts, that need our energies, that need the work that we do. And in addition, what are your hopes? Hopes for yourself, hope for your friends, hope for your community, hope for the world. And today we're going to be doing a lot of thinking about visions, so and fruition of some visions. So as you take all of this in today, think about the visions that you want to accomplish yourself individually, but also as a community. What we're going to do is spend some time together. We're going to have a wonderful opening with our new board chair, Rivkah Walton. She's going to give us an opening, yay. You'll hear more about that. And then a bulk of our time will be with our friends, Goldberg and Lynn Iser, experts, wonderful experts in aging, and they're going to be doing a program for that. That's why we're all here. And then to finish, we're going to be sharing some more information about how you can be more active in the Shtetl 2.0 going forward. And finally, a little surprise we're going to have at the end. So again, just a reminder at the very end, we'll be, if you're here to clean up, please clean up. If you need to schmooze, you'll go outside, but we'll remind you again. So Rivkah, is there anything else that you would like me to say? Okay, good. I'm going to turn this over to Rivkah Walton. Give her a hand. Give her a hand.
I don't know. I think I'm better off holding this thing. We'll find out. So I want to say hello, good afternoon, welcome, thanks for coming, and thank you all who are on streaming for being present with us through the miracles of modern technology. And we want to try and keep in mind that there are a dozen or more people who are with us, at least visually, up there through that portal, as it were. How many folks here have attended a Shtetl program previously? Almost everybody. Wow. Wow, that's great. So some of what I'm going to say you will probably have heard before. How many of you, is this your first Shtetl 2.0 program? Fantastic. Welcome. Welcome. And what I'm going to say quickly, but I want to reassure you that just about everything I say is up on our new spiffy website that has just probably more information than you would ever want. Um, and you always have a backup there. Since at the end of today's program overall, we're going to invite you to join Shtetl 2.0 as founding members. We thought it was important that you know what you're joining, how we got here, and where we anticipate going. So that's my job right now. I want to say that it takes a village to create a village. And so I want to acknowledge key contributors, and there are many of you in this room have already contributed mightily as we go. So Shtetl 2.0 started out about a year and a half ago, spring of 2023, when Betsy Teutsch, hi Betsy, and Chris Levin and Connie Katz were alerted to the fact that there were some very elderly, very frail members of GJC, women as it happened, who were in their last months, weeks, days, and did not have family support. And they were very perturbed about this situation, and they realized that the synagogue per se was not in a position to afford them that kind of support. We've asked for not asked for, but you know, suggested that a social worker might be a good person to have on staff. Well, we haven't gotten that yet. So they attended to the needs. They made sure these women were taken care of. But then it occurred to them, this is not a one-off. This is not a three-off situation. This is a generational problem that is about to burst out. Jews are incredibly mobile compared to the rest of the rest of the population. Our generations, there are a lot more single people and single women in particular who didn't need to get married as previous generations did. And that means that not only are there a lot of people who don't have children, but a lot of people who don't have the right children, meaning children nearby who can take care of you in your advanced years. Betsy started calling into being a small committee to start discussing this. And among the people she invited in were Rabbi Dale Friedman, Dick Goldberg, and myself to start that conversation. And this committee began to expand our understanding of what was needed. It wasn't just the frail elderly that we needed to address. It was everybody who might become frail elderly. Sort of everyone who's gotten over the shock of your first AARP magazine coming in the mail, okay? Yeah, I know, age 50, what is this? Not just those who are currently living solo, but couples. Barring a catastrophic accident, one member of that couple is going to be solo at some point and needs to be taken care of. Not just aging in place, meaning in your own home, but aging in community to address the epidemic of loneliness, as our chief medical officer, Surgeon General, thank you. When you turn 60, the words start going. That's right. And certainly not just GJC members, but members of all the Northwest Philly communities, Panay Or, Mishkan, Folkshul, and those who are not members of these communities. Plenty of people who are not affiliated. And not just Jews, right? We're not in just Jewish families. We are intermarried. Some of us have Jewish parents. Some of us have Jewish kids. We really need to be open to both Jews and, someone said, Jewish adjacent people. Kind of like that name. Anyone who is comfortable in a Jewish context. And we then realize it's not just an individual household problem, but it is a structural problem in Northwest Philly. Okay? This is called what? What is this area called? Mount Airy. What is the one just up the road called? Chestnut Hill. Okay? It's the geography and the geology of this area that is presenting a serious problem to us. The traditional housing went straight up. Didn't go out, it went up. I personally, there are 19 stairs between the pavement and my porch. Okay? And that's not unusual in this area. And then I live on a 3rd floor, so go figure. Okay? We have stairs, stairs, stairs. And in our first meeting in this very room, that was what people were focusing on. Stairs, stairs, stairs. Okay? So we have a problem with housing. And I'll get to a little more on that later. And this housing challenge is not just a housing challenge, it's a demographic challenge. Because older people are being forced to move out of this community to find housing that is accessible, ADA compliant, or just plain accessible for them, comfortable for them. So all of the synagogues who have worked so long to build up communities here in this area, and all of us who have been working for years and years, I came in 1978, are losing our community. We're losing our community in part to illness and death, and we're losing our community also to people who need to flee the area to find housing that works for them. And I know none of this is news to any of you. This small group grew into a planning team of 10. And I'm going to mention the names. Please raise your hand as I acknowledge you. Margie Dubrow, over here. Dick Goldberg, Tobie Hoffman, Lynn Iser. Okay, is Beth Margolis Rupp here? Not yet. Okay, Merle Savadow, yay. Betsy Teutsch, up there. Rivkah Walton, and then 2 people who couldn't be here today, Rabbi Dale Friedman and David Rosenberg. Here are some of the decisions that we made and programs we undertook. First of all, we embraced the village model of neighbors helping neighbors. This is a model that began in the Boston area, the community of Beacon Hill in 2003, and now there are more than 250 such villages nationwide. And we joined the Village to Village network, which many of those villages belong to, so that we could access the resources and wisdom in that group. We asked GJC, Mishkan, Pnei Or, and Folkshul to endorse the project in principle, and they responded not only with an endorsement, but with in-kind contributions, such as allowing us to use this room and the labor of the custodial staff and the like, and a streaming service. Shouldn't overlook that. And we clarified that while Shtetl 2.0 is based on the Jewish calendar, on Jewish customs and Jewish values, you don't have to be Jewish to join, and changed our tagline to Northwest Philly Jews and Friends Aging in Community, to make that clear. Last fall, we partnered with the New York nonprofit Dorot to co-present their program on preparing to age alone. They expected about 50 people to sign up. 140 did. And they expected to need 3 or 4 facilitators for this online program, for the breakout groups. We needed 15. And if you were a facilitator at that program, please raise your hand. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your work on that program. Following the program, we held a brainstorming meeting in early January. We had 75 participants in this room, and out of that came several working groups. We had a programming working group that was the largest, headed up by Margie Dubrow and Merle Savadow, with board liaison Dick Goldberg, and they piloted social programs. If you were part of that group, that working group, raise your hand. Oh, wow, great, glad you're here. We had a resources working group, Paul Savadow, and worked with Tobie Hoffman to identify local resources and identify how members could be connected with those resources down the line. Housing alternatives, led by Sue Sussman and Ellen Steicher and Betsy Teutsch, it began exploring housing alternatives in the area. Again, more about that later. And then the structure working group, led by David Rosenberg, and quite a group of people, some of whom are here now. Great, thank you. Did some very, very important work to get us to the next stage. They helped identify our mission statement, create our bylaws, and helped identify the appropriate nonprofit fiscal sponsor under which to work. We're very happy that Mount Airy Community Services Corporation, MASC for short, has agreed to be our fiscal sponsor, the umbrella under which we work. And we share that umbrella, incidentally, with Northwest Village Network, the other large village in our immediate area, and with the Mount Airy Learning Tree, who has been under their umbrella for decades, I think. We're really looking forward to the synergy that we get with those other groups. MALT is already offering our Tobie members a 10% discount on courses, and NVN and we have been discussing collaborative programs and eventually associate memberships. Yes, you can be a member of more than one village. As of July 1st, we were a real village with nonprofit status and bylaws in hand, and we created a 9-person board. So that board is Merrill Crean, treasurer, who again is looking on from over there, Josh Goldblum, back there, Tobie Hoffman, George Stern, George, thank you. Myself, and then 4 people who couldn't be here today, Karen Foreman, Marcia Friedman, Jeff Margot, and David Rosenberg, who is secretary. In just 2 months, we're getting close here. In just 2 months, the board has approved a new operating platform and website, created a new committee structure and a membership plan, and decided on September 15th, that would be today, as the date we would formally launch Shtetl 2.0 and publicly seek and accept founding members. So that's how we got here. And now, looking forward. We got here remarkably fast, I want to say. Most villages, like 3 years in the making, you know. And I think that's due to the long experience that many of us have had in building community here in Northwest Philly, and our experience, our knowledge, our connections, and our commitment to a certain kind of vision of community.
And Rivkah's hard work. Yes.
Thank you. Today marks the first time we're asking folks to join with the board as founding members, and that outreach is going to continue along with fundraising efforts. That's in the immediate future. Over the next 2 months, we plan to reconstitute our various committees. Working groups will become committees, seeking new members, new leadership, and taking us through the holidays and past the election, which so many of us are deeply involved in. And during this time, behind the scenes, we'll be planning member services and programs. So services and programs are kind of the twin parts of any village. And so I want to talk about services first. Most village services are built on a neighbors helping neighbors model. Mutual assistance, dare I say, from each according to their abilities, to each according to their needs. Those who can still drive can give a lift to those who can't. Ditto with occasional household help, meals, dog walking, light bulb changing, tech support, whatever it is that's needed. Things that many of us already do for friends. And that, of course, is going to depend on a critical mass of members, which is likely a little while down the road. However, there are some places we can start with services, such as by creating a members list of recommended vendors and contractors, be it for downsizing or plumbing, yard work, housework, medical care. And we hope that our members will contribute their recommendations so that we can build a strong resource on our website. And we'd like to identify some folks to organize that effort. The other major project that falls under services that's ongoing is Betsy Teutsch's effort to identify existing accessible apartment and condo housing in the neighborhood where our members could begin to cluster. She's also working with Westmount area neighbors and a local developer on a new build apartment building with ADA compliant residences of various sizes and affordable housing as specified by the city program. It's expected to be ready for occupancy in the fourth quarter of next year. So if you're interested, that's an incentive to start your downsizing now. I'm the first person on the list, just saying. After today, I'm moving into programs. After today, the next upcoming program that we would like to host will actually be towards the end of the holidays, and that is we would like to have a sukkah walk, a nice informal chance to get to know each other in the neighborhood, hopefully on a lovely fall day. And that will be on Sunday, October 20th from 1 to 3 in the middle of Sukkot. And it's, I volunteered the sukkah that I share with the Gluskin-Braun household, which is just like a block from the co-op. So you may have noticed there was a sign-up sheet asking if you have or know of a sukkah within a few blocks, walking distance of the co-op, that we could put on our route for a kind of light progressive meal over that 2-hour period. Obviously, we have to have the sukkahs volunteered in order to do it. Meanwhile, we hope to offer a variety of social, cultural, and educational programs beginning in mid-November, as I said before, after the election. Those are going to grow over time as members initiate new interest groups, be they positive aging, book groups, photography, gardening, walking, crafts, meditation, social activism, you name it. Does anybody have like a group that they've been wishing they had? Like people that shared a hobby or an interest that you'd really like to be able to get together with? Yes, I'm asking. Yeah, looking for input. Walks and photography. Excellent. So, anyone else? Yes. I'm sorry? Games. Okay. Fun. Yeah? Artist collective. Fabulous. Yeah, Bob. Discussing articles as opposed to having to read an entire book, and can stay more timely. Yeah. Yes, Dick. Singing. More singing. Okay. All right. Be thinking. Be generating ideas for what we could do together as a community going forward. But the first program we're going to have under this new rubric is in fact today. And we're just delighted to lead with Dick and Lynn's program. They are both leaders in the National Positive Aging Movement. Lynn was the founding director of Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi's Spiritual Eldering Institute. She has led saging workshops and retreats internationally and helped develop strategies for transitioning to elder care residences. And Dick was the director of Coming of Age, a Philadelphia-based age 50-plus civic engagement initiative founded by, and this is impressive, AARP, WHYY, United Way, and Temple University, which he developed into a national organization. So please welcome Dick and Lynn. And your markers are there.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rivkah, not only for that lovely introduction, but for bringing us all up to date. I can hear myself. You can't hear me? I feel like I'm back home. What did you say? Okay. How about now? Lift it up. How about now? Oh, it has a reverberation. I started to say I feel like James Earl Jones, but not a good reference. Oh, what a loss. What a loss. In any event, Lynn and I think, were very involved with a national positive aging movement. And locally, we still have remained involved with that effort. About a dozen years ago, we got together and put together something called the Positive Aging Group in Philadelphia, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But I wanted just to outline what we're planning to do over the next 40 minutes, and that is we are hoping that some of the ideas that we present are things that you either haven't thought about before, or if you've thought about them, really maybe want to drill down and think about them a little more deeply. And essentially what we're going to be talking about is there intellectual or spiritual work that we can do together, where we can interact with each other and move those processes forward for ourselves individually and as a community. And then lastly, because, as Rivkah was talking about all the programmatic efforts that are going to be undertaken by Shtetl 2.0, we want to see if there's a group of people who want to meet from time to time to really drill down and have conversations about the spiritual and intellectual. I focus more on the spiritual aspects of aging. I mentioned to you before that Lynn and I have been running a group in Philadelphia online for since the pandemic called the Positive Aging Group. And it's a group that meets every month to discuss issues related to being an engaged older person. It's interesting, when we started 12 or 13 years ago, it was all about, well, what can we do for ourselves individually? How do we interact with grandchildren? If you have grandchildren, what does it mean to be creative? And over time, because our world has changed, it's really become an organization, or a group really, that's focused more on political and social action issues. If you're interested in being a part of that, or coming to one or more of our sessions, just let me know during the period after the presentation, and I'll make sure that you get the Zoom invitations. As I said, we're now exclusively on Zoom, and from time to time we talk about maybe meeting like this, face-to-face. So in all those years, I have never really had a good conversation with Lynn about her work. Sure, all those years, I've never had a conversation, a really in-depth conversation with Lynn about her work. I was involved at that time when we formed the organization with running this national initiative called Coming of Age, where I would go around the country working with people 50 plus to help them figure out what they wanted to do in the next steps of their lives, and then also getting nonprofits to create volunteer opportunities and encore career possibilities that spoke to our generation, for lack of a better term. So I want to make up today, I want to compensate for the fact that we've never had this conversation, and I'm going to do it in front of everybody, and I really want to know how you got involved with spiritual elderly.
Okay, how's the microphone? Good? Great. Yes, so I'll talk really loud because I too fight with air conditioners and have trouble hearing. So I moved to Philadelphia, Mount Airy 34 years ago to work with Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi. I had some interest in coming east. I'd lived in Northern California, but my real interest was in working with Reb Zalman, and he said, Lynn Laban, come work with me on the Spiritual Eldering Project. And I said, sure. I had no interest in eldering. I was just turning 40. So you can imagine where my interests were. But it was a great gift to me. in what I was doing at that time, and it really kind of set me up for turning 50 and for where I am now. In the years that followed, I kind of did that for about a decade, and then I had kids, and they were more demanding. I did some transitional housing work with Sarah. I did some work on co-housing and how do we create community, and I learned a lot about co-housing. We tried to start the Wissahickon co-housing community here in Philadelphia, and that was an incredible experience, but as we all know, property is very expensive. Co-housing was really difficult to make happen. Sue was a part of that as well. And in the last 10, 12 years, as my children got to be teenagers and they looked around the world and they kept saying, the world was so much better in the 50s. Why couldn't I have grown up in the 50s? I couldn't argue with them about that because I feel the same way. But I did look at the world and I felt my own concerns. And that compelled me to study more about what's happening in our world. Why is it such a mess? Democracy used to work. Racism wasn't a really bad issue. You were nice to people. It was fine. Of course, those are simple answers, and I've done a lot of work to discover more of that. But it was fueled by my own aging. And my recognition that as an elder, what was I doing? And what I was doing was creating a legacy for future generations. And the development of the idea that our responsibility at this time of life, and it's different for everybody at what this time of life arises, is to be an elder, is to use our wisdom, whatever we have that, but at least our resources, our time, and our energy to create a thriving and a just world for future generations. That's what elders have always done. They might have planted fruit trees, they might have built a cabin for their family, they might have taught Talmud, they might have been the ones that kept the traditions, but that is what elders always did. We have a big world, in my view. As much as we can, we got to get out there, raise our voices, and be activists to bring forth a more thriving and just world. So that's where my energy's been.
Oh, thanks.
That. You want to come back? We have more to talk about. Don't we? Yeah? You were then going to ask me about... No, we were going to talk about... so I'll just keep talking. We don't have to worry about Dick's questions because we kind of gone through it. So I'm 74 years old now, right? It's a good age. I'm very grateful that I'm healthy and very mobile, and I live within a wonderful community. And I've had a lot of challenges. I've lived a very full life. You know, I've lived a very full life, some of which I'm grateful for my parents for having role modeled that for me and for giving me genes, good genes. But I also know at this age that my life is limited, that I might have a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years before my life ends. And what am I going to do with that time? What is it I want to do? And so I'm recognizing for my own self that there's work to do, not only out there in the world, there are things I want to do out there, but there's also things I want to do in here. So that is a question that I hear more and more within myself, and we're going to talk about that as we go forward, somewhat here and hopefully somewhat within a community like Shtetl. But that was the same question that Reb Zalman was facing when he was in his 60s, and I know some of you knew Reb Zalman Shakta Shalomi that lived within this community and taught here and has been an amazing impact on Jewish life, Jewish renewal life, Jewish contemporary life. But he felt those same questions, like looked in the mirror and said, what would he be if he could no longer be a rabbi? If he didn't have the energy to be a teacher or to travel, if he could no longer do out in the world, who would he be? And this was 35 years ago. There were no answers. His book, From Aging to Saging, was the first book on conscious aging that came out in our world. It was followed by many, many books. Ram Dass wrote a great book. There's been books by Gene, The Creative Mind, Gene Cohn, The Creative Mind, the Creative Age of Growing Older. You see them all everywhere now. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful books. Rachel Cowan wrote a great book. Dale Friedman has written several books on growing older and caring for others from the Jewish perspective. So there's a lot out there now. 35 years ago, nobody talked about being an elder. We were seniors, right? That wasn't so juicy, right? It didn't come with a lot of like respect. It came with the discount. If you wanted the discount. So what happened was Reb Zalman and I created the Spiritual Eldering Institute. Sandy Cohn was an amazing part. One of our first workshops was at Sandy and Jerry's house, which is now on the campus of Jefferson University, the beautiful place. And I got to look at these older people. I was 40. They were in their late 60s, and they were excited about growing older. It didn't make sense. Like, I was 40. You don't get excited about growing older. You kind of like worry about it. You dread it. You don't want to be older. They, coming together and talking to each other, talked about the opportunities and the possibilities. Now, of course, there's also challenges. There are diminishments. There are infirmities. There are many losses. And that is a work that Reb Zalman helped us to understand. How do we grow into being elders? How do we accept the losses? How do we work with our diminishments? How do we continue to become, despite the fact that we might be dealing with diminishments? Many of you know I have a child that has Down syndrome. He definitely has diminishments. I can tell you all about it sometime. But he also has amazing opportunities, and many of you have seen that. He's an incredibly empathetic person. He uses all of his being in this life to inspire many people. It always amazes me because I deal with a lot of other parts of him. But so that's the part about growing older as well. As we grow older, we have a lot of opportunities. Our culture doesn't teach us about that very much. If we look at what we see in the media, it's not a whole lot about growing older and how wonderful it is. We learn how to fear our wrinkles, how to worry about what's going to happen to us, who's going to take care of us. Are we even going to be able to take care of ourselves? There's this huge thing about diapers and underpants, as though those are really big issues for us. If we need them, we need them. You know, our opportunity is to take aging out of the closet. And we can do that as a community. We could be with each other and we can talk about what comes with this stage of life. So I have notes to kind of keep me on track, which is helpful. Okay. So we wanted to do an exercise. Should we do that? Yeah. Okay. So we were told to be engaging and interactive, so that's what we're going to do. Time for you to be engaged. Good. So we're going to throw out a couple of questions to you. We want to hear some pop-up answers, okay? You're going to? Sure. Okay. So one question is... I'm going to do that part. You're going to do
we work well together. As you can see, engaging person, as people have picked up on. I'm glad you brought up Gene Cohen, whose work, along with several other people, really does form the underpinning for the positive aging. Gene Cohen, who Lynn mentioned earlier, is one of the people who formed a lot of ideas that are the basis for positive aging, one of which is, and this he determined through very rigorous scientific studies, that as we age, we become more creative. We have the potential for becoming more creative. And he did that through brain scans, determining that as we age, the left and the right hemispheres of the brain work more successfully together than they have done in the years prior to the onset of aging. So that's an opportunity that I think we want to capitalize on. I just want to share with you also how Dr. Cohen one thing that led him to investigate this was his aging parents were visiting him in Washington. He was a professor and a researcher at George Washington University. His parents were in their late 80s, and they went into town from Gene's home, which was in suburban metropolitan Washington, and there was a terrible snowstorm. And the snowstorm got worse and worse, and they remained in town, and metros stopped running. You couldn't get a taxi, and they needed to get back out to where Gene lived. I think it was Bethesda. So what they did was they went into a pizza shop, and they ordered a pizza and requested that it be delivered. You see where I'm going? And because the pizza truck was running, and as they saw the delivery man go into the truck with the pizza, they said, "Can we bum a ride?" And so this is a true story. And that was one of the triggers that made Gene think, well, maybe there is something to this notion of as we age, we can come up with creative solutions. So before we come up with those creative solutions, I want to ask you two questions, and we'll do sort of a free-for-all brainstorming on these two questions, and Lynn will be charting them. And that's, what excites you? What excites you about aging, about growing older? And if you want to think about that for just a moment, that'd be good. And then also, what concerns you about aging or growing older? And I want to ask the folks at home, since you won't be able to shout out your answers, if maybe you'd write them down, if you have a piece of paper to do that. So what excites you and what concerns you? And I'll just take your answers as they come. Yes. Freedom that comes with aging. Yes, thank you. Yes. Permissions that we can declare for ourselves. Thanks, Joseph. Yes, Michael. The rewards of being a good listener. And I guess if we're not a good listener now, we can work on becoming a good listener. I like that idea. I hadn't thought about that one ever. Numini. More free time. I'm not hearing any concerns. I kind of like that. Yes, Amy. Much less fear about being me. Wow. Surah.
It's a new country to explore.
A new country to explore. Well, we're going to be explorers. Barb.
I'm going to go for the concerns since you just commented.
Thank you. I wanted somebody to come up with a concern.
Since I'm from a family where multiple relatives had dementia, I do have a fear of that happening to me, and it's kind of a mess.
Fear of cognitive decline. Thank you for kind of grounding us. Yes. Yes, Margie. Uh-huh. I thought that's what you and I were doing. A concern that you won't be able to build more new networks because you're already building some. Yes. Enjoying time committed to positive aging in a community. Ellen. More fun in the within our own spiritual. Okay, more. Yes. Learning what you want to learn. Andy. Losses, sickness, and disability as concerns. Bob.
This is kind of in both columns. Opportunities.
Wait a minute, slow down.
I just want to characterize this as rabbinical. Thank you very much.
To share stories or experiences, but that the concern is there won't be someone who's interested in hearing our stories and experiences.
Okay. The desire to share, will there be a recipient? Okay. On each side. Yes. Rachel. Speaking your mind, you always did, and I missed the last part. Now you can get away with it. Good. I'm going to model after you. Mark.
Decreasing energy, increasing problems. Guess which side that goes on.
I think I know. Decreasing energy, increasing problems. Yes, Ellie. Okay, so a concern about resources is. Okay. Concern about the ability to access resources because of the limitation of. I'm not. I don't think I'm doing it. Okay. Concern about living in your bubble. Yes. Jay. Will I be remembered? Yeah, I'm repeating everybody, but thanks. Yes. Maintaining mobility and transportation. This is supposed to just be 2 minutes, so, but let's steal a minute from something else. Sheila. Running out of money. And we'll make 2 more, or 3 more. Ellie. Not knowing what's coming next. Is that yeah, that's a yin and a yang. Okay. The uncertainty of the future. I'm going to have to stop, but I don't want to stop. Yeah. Shrinking world because of physical. Okay, so we'll call physical limitation. Tobie, and then one more after that. Okay. Discounts. I like those discounts. Is anybody who hasn't done one? Yes, in the back. Fear of being alone. Okay. What a wonderful list in many senses of that term. I'm sorry, we're going to have to cut it off just because we need to be out of here by a certain point. So, Lynn?
Yes, I want to say something about this list. I think we each have all or parts of this list within us. I think the most telling one for me that I brought up with a group of friends on Friday night is the one about uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. When we're younger, we're pretty certain what's going to happen, right? But it doesn't always happen. As we know, what was it? We plan, God laughs, or something like that, or somebody's laughing, or something's laughing. So, our challenge as we grow older, and this is the spiritual part, is how do we allow ourselves to live with the uncertainty? How do we support ourselves and each other in a shrinking bubble? Because I know I won't be traveling as much as I'm traveling. I know I don't want to spend as much time on the internet as I currently do. My eyes hurt as well as my head. So how will we take care of ourselves as we grow older? And that's the job of becoming an elder. Now that sounds very aspirational. This is not in my notes. That sounds very aspirational. So what I want to bring up is the other side, right? We all have experienced and seen the other side. People that are unhappy, people that are bitter, people that stay in their homes, people that just can't manage to, what's the thing is the Erik Erikson's, the stagnation part, right? That they're, and what was the other side of stagnation? Was it integration or stagnation? I need a good psychotherapist here. Okay, it's my notes. But That's what we want to go for. This is the work that we can do individually and in community. I just want to say that. It's the opportunity we have. We're aging. We're getting older. The joke is, what's the alternative to getting older? Right? Somebody once held up a pie chart and said, what percentage of the U.S. population is aging? Okay, you know it. I don't have to say it. Great. These are your notes. What are we doing next? I want to say it's very different to sit at home and think about what you're going to say and then get here and see who's here and think about what you do want to say, because this is very exciting. I'm really excited to have this opportunity. So I want to say a little bit about what does it mean to become an elder. And I am going to use some work of Reb Zalman's himself to just kind of lay out what his paradigm was for aging. So I see Sandy shaking her head because she has studied this and has been teaching this herself. So he called it the sine qua non. What do you have to do to grow older and become an elder? I don't know if I said this before, but anybody can grow old. It takes work to become an elder, and that can become our mantra. Anybody can grow old. It takes work to become an elder. And that's true in every society. It's not just true here in our contemporary society. If you talk to, I've spoken with Native American people, and I say, what are the elders in your community? They say everybody's an elder. But the truth is, I don't go talk to the town drunk when I have a problem. I talk to the person that's been a responsible citizen. That's the elder. That's where you get counsel. So these are my 6 essentials for spiritual eldering. The first is affirming the success of our years. How many years you have, we've reached this point, it's a success. Whether it be 74, 84, 62, it's a success that you've reached this point in life. And you're actually here, curious. That's a great thing. We get to acknowledge our years of life experience. I'm not always comfortable asking people how old they are, but I'm pretty brash, and I do ask people how old they are. Because it's good for people to say, I'm 74 years old, or I have 74 years of life experience. Top that. When you say it to a teenager or one of my kids, I go, oh, I can't say it to them, of course not. But 74 years, I must have learned something, right? I hope so. The second is to take care of ourselves, of course. Take care of our bodies, eat well, have people to talk to, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And I'm not going to talk about that right now because we hear enough about that. The third is to engage in life review and synthesize wisdom from long life experience. So, life review is seen as a very important thing as we grow older. We look back through our lives and we take a look at, what worked? What have I been successful at? What can I be proud of? What didn't work? What dreams do I have that I want to toss out? Because the truth is, I'm never going to be a dancer on a stage anymore. I can't even go out and dance anymore with my husband like we used to. But I can give that up a little bit because I have other things that call to me. I like to sing. It's a lot easier on my body, too. So you know, who are we? What do we want to take of ourselves, and what can we give up because we don't need it anymore, or we recognize it's just not as important? But the other piece is, what is yearning to come forward? What is the bit of our life that you've always wanted to do or is sitting under there now, and you really want to develop it a little bit? For me, I'm beginning to do some writing. And it means that I have to take writing workshops, because if I don't take writing workshops, I don't write. I have to have the assignment. But riches come through. But what is it that we want to do? Do we want to spend more time with our grandchildren? Do we want to spend more time out in our gardens? Do we want to spend more time at the museum? What did we always want to do? And that's a way of nurturing yourself and continuing to grow. But the other piece is synthesizing what we've learned from our lives. So as you look back through our lives, We've had disappointments, we've had failures, and help us all, we've done things wrong. We've all made mistakes. And we can sit with those mistakes and beat ourselves, or we can acknowledge those mistakes and forgive ourselves. And so that's part of the work, is learning to forgive yourself for what you didn't do as well as you wish you had. No one's perfect. Along with that is forgiving others. Forgiving the people that might have harmed you or hurt you intentionally or unintentionally. And what's the value of that? The value of that is letting go of those aches in your body, in your heart, so that when you come to the end of your life, you can come to it with a little bit more grace. It doesn't mean it's always going to be easy, and none of us knows what the end of our life will be like. But we want to work towards letting go of some of that. We also learn to be able to say things to the younger ones like, I wish I'd done that better at that. I hope that you've learned from my mistakes. That is a gift that we give to younger generations. I'm not perfect. I wish I could have done something differently. Maybe you will do things differently. That is part of our legacy, is giving over some of that we've learned. One of the other things to do is to face our mortality, right? We're not going to live forever. Once we face our mortality, we can say, I am going to live for whatever's in front of me. I am determined to live these years. And the last piece is that piece of creating a legacy for future generations, transmitting a legacy. What have we learned? What do we care about? What do we want to ensure for future generations? And doing those pieces, and this is a very simple condensation of all these aspects, is the work that will help us to grow into being elders with grace and allow us to maybe complete our lives so that at the end of our days, we can exit gracefully. So that's what I've been doing. Was that an answer to your question? So we want to do a little bit of a life review exercise. Are you going to set it up or you want me to? I'm going to set it up. Okay, great. So when Reb Zalman was doing this work, he was, of course, a very renowned Jewish leader, and people kept saying, why isn't it Jewish? Well, it wasn't Jewish. He wanted it to be out there in the world, and it has continued to be formed in the world, and is created in a group being held by an organization called Saging International that trains people, that has workshops. You can always go to some of their online workshops. And this was an exercise I just got from them this week. So we are going to, Dick is handing out a list of questions, 16 questions about harvesting our lives. It's a kind of a gentle list of questions. And everybody's going to turn to somebody next to them. It could be your partner. It could be somebody new, just to work with somebody new. And then I'm going to tell you what to do. So would everybody turn to somebody next to them so that you have a partner? One or two people might need to move. And do it quietly, like tap somebody on the shoulder and wave at them. Okay? If you don't have a partner, please raise your hand.
And if you are at home and alone, choose these, you'll follow the directions and play both roles.
Definitely going over time. We're good? Okay.
What I said, if you're at home and are operating alone, just choose a question and answer it. Lynn will give you a more expansive
If you do not
instruction.
Have a partner, raise your hand. There's a partner right there. Great. Now everybody's quiet. Shh. Do you have a partner? You all have partners. I'll work with you. No problem. Shh. Okay. So this is what you can turn to your partner, tap them on the shoulder. Turn to your partner and tap them on the shoulder if you have a partner at home. If not, you can just journal a little bit. Okay, the first person that tapped is partner A. The other person is partner B. Partner A goes first. Partner A is going to, shh, you won't hear what I'm saying. Partner A turns to their partner and says, Dick, well, look at number 10. With whom do you want to spend more time? And then Dick will talk to me for about a minute about with whom he wants to spend more time, number 10. Okay? So don't choose a question that you think your partner should answer. Choose a number and let serendipity choose the question, okay? Numbers from 1 to 16, turn to your partner, choose a number. And we'll tell you, you have about 5 minutes? 6 minutes? Okay, Dick will tell you when time's up.
You'll have about 7 minutes to do that. Lynn, did you want me to? I was going to answer Lynn's question, but you guys are off and running. Not just somebody, but me. take another 2 minutes, 2 more minutes. You're done? All right. I want to bring us back together, the whole group. See if you can wind down these conversations. Good. So before I ask you for what you talked about, you can't hear me? It is reverberating. Oh, you want them to shut up is what you want. Tobie wants you to shut up because she wants to hear me. Well, I like that, Tobie. So I just want to share 2 things before we talk about what you talked about. Number one is, it's been a few years since I was facilitating workshops, and there's that moment when you give the group an exercise and you think, are they going to buy into this? Are they going to do it? And then 5 seconds later, something like what happened here happens, and there's this buzz in the room and this intensity, and clearly people were interacting. So I just thank you for being such an engaged group. I'm not surprised, but I am delighted. The other thing I want to do is we rehearsed this exercise, Lynn and I, and she said she was going to ask me, what voices do I want to listen to? But instead she chose the question that preceded that, number 10, rather than number 11. And I thought about that question for a while. I'm going to kick off by sharing to tell you what voices I want to listen to. And they're legitimate voices. They're my parents' voices. And I think after Lynn asked me this question, I thought to myself, you know, a lot of people talk about how they're in touch with their parents or feelings about their parents on a daily basis. And my parents are gone for many years, and I haven't done that. And their voices have not been in my head. And I thought, well, part of the reason they're not in my head is that they had very different kinds of views about the world, their politics, their attitudes about the relationships between men and women, their attitudes about race, their attitudes about Judaism. There are just a lot of things that I now have a different mindset from my parents. But I think I have forgotten that they also had the wisdom of being elders, which I guess I just really did not pay enough attention to as that was unfolding. And so I think going forward, I'm not going to I shouldn't use this expression. I'm not going to say to myself, what would Jesus do? I'm going to say, what would my dad do? What would my mother do? And I think that'll be, those two questions might be some good guidance for me. So that's my answer to one question. What surprised you? What did you learn about yourself or learn about somebody else in this conversation? And I don't think we're going to chart this. I think we're just going to have a conversation about it. Now, don't disappoint me and not enter in enthusiastically here. Elliot.
What was fun about this was getting to know Sandy. Getting to know Sandy and a lot that I never knew about her. Getting really some insights into Sandy and who she is, and I enjoyed that very much.
So getting to know your partner, and I wish mine had been Sandy too, now that I hear how that went. Yes, Sandy, share.
Never have believed that Ellie was the principal who went on top of the roof as a gorilla.
If the kids read how many pages? If the kids at her school read a million minutes, then Ellie went on top of the school as the principal, dressed as a gorilla. But you did not jump off the roof, right? Good. All right. There's a gorilla in the room. All right. What else do we? Is there an elephant in the room, Tobie?
One of the questions was a significant contribution, and my first thought was work or something. Then I realized that we're in the context of elderly, and so the answer I have is more about my contribution to the next generation. It's very meaningful to recognize that.
So I think. So Tobie has in mind a very specific contribution you want to make to the next generation. That you have made. Oh, I'm glad. Oh, verb tense is important. Thank you. That you have made. Michael.
The louder.
As I try to live in the present, I don't really think about the past too much. And this exercise reminded me about how rich my past has been and how many people I have to thank for that.
Wow. I'm tearing up, Michael. Getting in touch with your past and how many people have contributed to the person that you are, what they've contributed to you. Ellen, did you have your hand up? Yes.
The first was, it was brilliant saying just pick a number. And that was fabulous. And the other, pick a number rather than.
I'm gonna repeat what Ellen says.
And the other is that Sarah and I have been friends for over 30 years.
Louder.
Sarah and I have been friends for over 30 years, so we had the context for the answers, and it was just so fun to do that.
So working with somebody that you've known for a period of time, Sarah and Ellen have been friends for a long time, and the randomness of just picking a number and being able to have a conversation that was informed by the past. Oh, I think I did a nice job just then. Yeah, I like what I said.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Can you stand up?
On the other side,
Stand up.
stand up.
Would you- I think we could hear you better.
I know you
On
can
the other
stand.
side of that, I spoke with Lynn, who I had never spoken with before in my life, and it was amazing how quickly we got into deep depth and really felt like we were sharing on a spiritual, emotional level, which is not ordinary in the first 5 or 10 minute conversation one has with someone.
All right. Getting down to something really important immediately in this interaction.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We have 3 minutes for the rest of our presentation.
Yeah, no,
No,
that's,
we have another piece.
say that again?
We have 3 minutes for the rest of our presentation. We have another piece.
Okay, all right, we'll take one more answer. Sarah.
Thank you. These are brilliant, and I want to say that I'm going to be running a program for the community on sivaot, or ethical wills, which are just these kinds of things. It's really cheap. It's through Mishkan and Pnei Or. If you're interested, the 3-week program will really dive deep. These are the best. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sarah talked about a workshop that she's going to be offering, which Did everybody hear what she said? Or they should reach out to you?
Yeah, if I can put it on the list so you know.
Okay, that sounds good. So we need to move forward, but I think there's not only a lot of great energy, there's a lot of great insight that could help us move forward. And I want to thank Lynn for coming up with all these exercises. So just to acknowledge from whence they came.
Okay, we're not done.
No,
Okay, good.
I'm just turning it over to you.
You're turning it over to me? Okay, good. All right. I know we have to move along, so we are going to do this a little bit quickly, but this is the next piece of what we want to talk about, is the idea of saging in community, right? We're talking about aging in community. How do we sage in community? How do we do this kind of work together? How do we develop spiritual intimacy, the words of Reb Zalman, when we just sit and talk to somebody and discover that it's so easy to talk to them, or the conversation is rooted in years of experience, or it brings up what your own life review and what a gift that is to have. So these are the possibilities of the work that we can do together if within Shtetl we want to make an intention to do this work together. So that in addition to having social and cultural activities or Shabbat dinners or Yiddish singing, we also want to get together and do this exploration of who we are and where we want to go and how we can become elders, sages, wisdom keepers, whatever we want to call ourselves. And the words don't matter. It's only how do we want to keep becoming. So the question is this something that might interest you? And is there something that you might want to explore? I know Sarah wants to explore writing ethical wills, which is another piece of this work. What is yearning within you? The question is really, why did you show up here today if you showed up for this? If this called to you, why did it call to you? Yes. Can you, are you able to? Thank you. If you're able. And it's a, we'll repeat it. Just say it and I'll repeat it.
I've lost people who I had that kind of connection. And there are questions about, as I reflect on my life and I reflect going forward, and I want to meet more people that I can talk to about some of that.
Beautiful, Margie.
I really just want to find that build some connections, even if it's in a group that we come together only around that topic.
Great. So I think what Margie said is that she has lost some of her intimate friends in the last few years because of we're growing older. So she would like a place in which to nurture these kinds of conversations and have the permission to have the intimate conversations that you might not just talk to somebody about over an oneg or somewhere else like that or in Weaver's Way. Good. Yeah.
I was thinking of venues for that before today and the time of day. I know certain time of day afterwards I'm no good. So I was thinking of gathering for tea, and whoever shows up that time we could have one particular discussion, kind of informal, but knowing that we want to have a topic that really touches our hearts, not just our minds and our bodies.
Great. Did everybody hear that? Do I need to repeat it? Oh, good. Sarah said it depends upon time of day, that she's good in the late afternoon, so gathering for tea and being able to have a time for these kinds of conversations, not just casual conversations, and I would suggest coming with a topic or somebody facilitating them and having them be very intentional. And I know 3 or 4 people here that could do those kinds of conversations, but this is where we might want to nurture. Michael. Standing up and getting down is a good exercise. It's part of nurturing your body. Go ahead.
I would love to go to a workshop on the Jewish afterlife.
On the what? A workshop on the Jewish afterlife. Well, we could arrange that.
We could arrange the workshop, not the afterlife.
Oh, okay. We could arrange the workshop, not the afterlife. Susan.
I would like to be part of a community of elders that's open to intergenerational dialogues. I'm privileged to be part of a couple of gatherings of young people from whom I've learned it's a peer relationship, but a feeling value not as an old person, as an elder. And so I don't want to get isolated just in a community of people my own age, or younger people who are just our helpers.
Okay, great. Thank you, Susan. So Susan said she'd like to be part of a group that is open to intergenerational dialogue with young people, not to tell them anything, but to listen and to be affirming and to learn from them. This intergenerational stuff is really very reciprocal. So I see some heads nodding, and I would love to continue. And we will continue. So one of the options is that we will do an ongoing kind of opportunity within Shtetl. And if you're interested in that, there's an index card on your seat. Please write your name and contact information, as in your email, legibly on that card, and hand it in or give it to the desk when you leave, because we will be doing something if there's enough interest. And maybe you could write your interest as well. Thank you so very much. It's really wonderful to be doing this in our community. Okay, that's yours.
All right.
Can I show you a really simple stretch? Takes 1 second.
Okay.
Watch. Start with your hands in your heart. One hand goes up towards the heavens. Look at the heavens. Look up your hand. We are a conduit between heaven and earth. Bring your hands together back through your heart and change hands. Look up. And breathe in and breathe out. Do it 2 times, not now because we don't have time. But
Thank you, Tsura. All right. And thank you, Lynn and Dick. That was amazing. Truly wonderful. And I'm going to call everybody back to your seats because I don't know about you, but this is why I'm here today. Okay. Okay. So once everybody's seated. All right. So, as I hope I laid out earlier, Shtetl 2.0 is an evolving and expanding, all-volunteer, grassroots undertaking. Everybody who I named earlier and everybody today has done what they've done as volunteers. And like most new villages, we're starting small. And it's going to be a while before we know what programs members will initiate. Members, you. And before we have enough volunteer members to offer significant mutual services. We know that. Our task right now is to come together to build a diverse community of elders with a shared vision of supporting us collectively as we age and helping to stabilize the Jewish elder community in Northwest Philadelphia. Hear, hear. By becoming a founding member of Shtetl 2.0, You will, I hope, receive the satisfaction of being a far-sighted founder, and you will also have opportunities to shape Shtetl 2.0 and to expand your community. We just talked about needing more people to connect with, now and into the future. Investing in Shtetl 2.0 as a founder means making two kinds of investments. The first is financial, and it takes money to build a village. We have a bare bones annual budget of $18,000, which covers essential software, legal and accounting services, and insurance. That's a big one. And an ideal one of $55,000, which would allow us to expand programs and outreach and hire much needed part-time administrative staff. To date, we have raised in gifts and pledges about $10,000 already. And the board decided to create a membership structure that is a bit unusual. And I'd like to pass out, Andy, could you help me? In that box, you will see there is, yeah. I'll take the top sheet. Right there. Thanks. And could you pass those out? Everybody should get a blue sheet and a white sheet. They're identical, but everybody should have a copy of each. And maybe someone can help Andy get those around the room. Okay, great. Take one of each, pass it on. Okay. Okay, so if you could just try and make that a mechanical gesture of passing them on, because I'd like to explain where we're going with this. The board has chosen the metaphor of the Mishkan in the desert for Shtetl 2.0. Mishkan is sometimes translated as tabernacle or tent of meeting. And the importance of choosing Mishkan as a metaphor is that, as Rabbi Adin Steinsalt has called it, it was the first crowdfunding campaign. There was no set tax to create the Mishkan. It was to be created from gifts, and this is a quote, from every person whose heart so moves them, as it says in Exodus. And no person's gift was above that of another, whether they brought spun thread or woven cloth, silver mirrors, as it said the women brought, or cut gemstones. I knew it was a mistake to hand these out. I just knew it was a mistake. It's always a mistake to hand out a paper. The point is that whereas all the surrounding villages, there are 3 villages in our area and another one downtown, very successful one downtown. There are 3 villages in our area, NVN, a new one in Roxborough, and East Falls. They all have the same membership structure, okay? Every one of them says it's $125 for a single person, and it's $125 for a single, $175 for a couple. And then you can ask for a reduction if that is too much for your budget. We decided we're not going to do that. We are going to ask for whatever gift, whatever investment you want to make this happen in this community. And while this fund that we're building is essential for us to be able to purchase the essential services and eventually hire part-time staff, we hope that your heart will be moved to become a founder and share your material gifts at whatever level is meaningful for your household. Meaningful and within your means, both. We already have received founding gifts and pledges from $36 to $6,000. And every member of our board has made a substantial gift. The board is 100% in. So I want to explain these sheets to you. You have a white one and a blue one. The white one is to come back to us, and the blue one is to keep for your notes. And folks, you on streaming can follow along. This handout was sent to you as an attachment, and you can make notes for yourself and get the information to us after the program. So I'm going to walk you through this sheet. Is there an extra one that I can hang up? Is there an extra one somewhere? Great, thank you. All right, so I'm actually going to start at the very bottom, untraditionally, and point out that the standard information that you need as a donor to any nonprofit is down there. If you itemize your federal tax deductions, you need to know that we are a 501c3, and anything you contribute to us this year will be fully deductible. There's also the information about the Pennsylvania Department of State Bureau of Corporations and Charitable Organizations Certificate of Registration. So, if you care. So, what I want to do is, yes, Mark. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm not even sure how to repeat that, except that it was about qualified charitable distributions from your IRA. Right. Okay. Very wonderful. Wonderful. So we qualify. Another good reason to be a 501c3. So what I'd like to do is ask that someone read the first paragraph aloud, and maybe come to the mic for that so we don't have to repeat it. Somebody?
The first paragraph reads, "Yes, we want to join Shtetl 2.0 and create a community dedicated to positive aging. Our investment will enable Shtetl 2.0 to provide programs and services to allow members to age safely and vibrantly in their homes and in the community, and to help stabilize the larger Jewish community in Northwest Philly. We are investing in founding members of Shtetl 2.0 in the following ways."
Thank you. So the first way is, as I mentioned, financial. And I'd like you to take just a minute to think about what would be a meaningful gift within your means to support this program to get off the ground this year. And you have, if you just, make a note, you're not going to pull out your checkbook this moment, but make a note of that number, and then I'll talk to you about the two ways of giving. Yes. I'll repeat it by answering it. For the entire year, this is the way people will sign up as members. They will become founding members by a donation of their choosing. We don't know what will happen in the following year. Our year is July 1 through June 30th. We're not predicting yet whether we'll continue this or whether it will become a more normative membership policy, but this is what it is for this year. From anything from 36 to 6,000. Yeah. There are other questions we're going to ask. There are other questions we're going to ask you. So let's figure that out at the end. Yeah. I just want to say that you'll see that there are two check lines. One is that you can donate by credit or debit card on our new website, literally new. It came online yesterday. And that is by going to Shtetl 2.0, as in us, right? We are it. And in the upper edge, you'll see Join Now. And when you click on that, a drop-down menu will give you the opportunity to become a founder now. And you'll click there and follow through. And there are very detailed directions. I'm going to apologize in advance. It is a two-step process, which we are forced to do by the membership software. We're not happy about it, but if you follow through the directions there, then you'll be good. And you can give in any amount at that point from 36 on up. Or you can mail a check, and that, this is so embarrassing. Okay, so it says here, by mailing a check made out to Mount Airy Services Corp., DBA Shtetl 2.0, that's wrong, which I noticed this morning after this was printed up. It's Mount Airy Community Services Corp. So if you'll note that, I'm sure they'll cash it anyway, but Mount Airy Community Services Corp., DBA Shtetl 2.0. And that's how all receipts are going to come and all the rest. So the second way which you become a member is by contributing your experience, your skills, and your time. Okay? And to consider that, I'd like you to look on the back of either sheet where there is a chart of how we're arranging our new committees. Working groups may have been a better name. In the middle, you're going to see board of directors and the internal committees for the board of directors. Don't worry about those right now. On the upper left is the fundraising efforts. Someone said, couldn't we call it something else? You know, okay, development, if you're happier with that. This is reaching out to individuals who may be able to donate. It's reaching out for institutional support, doing member appeals, and eventually business supporters, events, and grants. If you have skills in any of those areas, if you have experience in any of those areas, please, please, please let us know and sign up for helping us with that. Community engagement, that's great. That's great. In the upper right, communications, we've got the website, the newsletter, Shtetl, Schmooze, listservs, brochures, press releases, web and print ads. We need people who can write, who can edit, who can do the graphics, and so on and so forth. So if you've got skills and background there, please let us know that. Then there's member services. And again, that's a little bit more long-range planning. Member outreach comes first. That's right now, actually. Welcome gatherings. The preferred providers program that I talked about earlier, where we can recommend people that we trust to work in our homes. And housing alternatives, like Betsy is coordinating. So if that interests you, or the eventual Hever groups, or friendship groups as they might be called, mutual services, co-ops and discounts and the like, if that is your passion about community, please let us know about that. And finally, the largest box down there is member programs. These are not the subjects of programs, these are the structures of programs that other villages have found work well. Weekly public drop-in social programs, ongoing self-run interest groups, Shabbat and holiday meals. Those could be potluck or prefix in local restaurants. Monthly cultural events and outings, monthly educational resources and events, including collaborations with other villages, and intergenerational programming, which we've heard from many people is a strong interest. So if any of those piqued your interest or spoke to you, on the front side in section 2, there are sort of check boxes, check lines, where you can indicate as many or as few that is calling out to you. But even more important, or just as important, is the line that says, we are especially interested in. And this is where you get to drill down a little bit about what it is you want to offer, right? If you were had a career in which you became an expert in something and now you're not being an expert anymore and you want to teach and continue to share your expertise and your knowledge, please let us know that, right? If you were a Cracker Jack fundraiser and want to do that, let us know that, okay? And finally, the third part of being a member is reaching out to other potential members. Yeah, I got time to do this. I became accidentally the head of the National Havurah Committee Summer Institute one year. And we had been sending out for years, we had been sending out 8.5 by 11 brochures, stapled, the whole thing. These were catalogs of the courses we were offering. And we would send them out, of course, to everyone who had ever been or ever expressed interest. But then we would buy these targeted lists of people who we thought were just like us, who would come to this thing. And we bought mailing lists from Lilith, and we bought mailing lists from Moment, and I don't know what else we bought latest. And I came in and I said, well, is that working? And we decided to code the stickers that came, the mailing stickers, which happened to be on the back of the applications, to see where the applications were coming from. Well, wouldn't you know it, there were no new applications from any of the purchased lists. All of the new people, and about a third of the people who are new every year, came from personal outreach, right? So no more buying of lists. It's personal outreach. Who do you know who could benefit from or could contribute to this community? And please, jot down their names, more as a reminder to yourself than anything else. We also want to make sure we don't have 10 people going after the same person. So if you would note down the names of some people that you want to say, I went to this program on Sunday and you're not going to believe what happened, right? Please note them down. And then when you've done that, please print your name, as someone said, legibly. Sign and put your email legibly and the date, September 15th, a day that will live in history. And fill out both the blue and the white form, if you would. Keep the blue one for yourself and give us the white one so that we can follow up with you. And we can know, if you know the number, we can know what to expect by way of a sort of pledge to contribute. And if you don't, we will we'll work with you on that. Okay? So I want to thank you enormously for your participation, for all your gifts, and just being here on this gorgeous day. And I want to, you know what? The first thing I want is I want everybody to give yourselves a standing ovation. Yeah, like now. Okay, so Tobie is gonna lead us in our closing and our toast to Shtetl 2.0, and we have bubbly back there and special cups. And if some folks back near there would start opening the bottles, not too many, we will have an opportunity to toast, and the folks at home have been advised to bring a libation of their choice to the computer or to the phone to join us in this toast. So I give you back to Tobie.
Wow. One more round of applause for our presenters who helped us with the context of positive aging and saging and eldering, and for Rivkah Walton for creating this event today, really, and putting it together, and for our board. So as we're waiting for our drinks, I invite you all. What's the toast we want to give today? What's some things you want to, a word or two about what you learned today, what you felt today, what you experienced today, what your vision for the future, to the future. L'chaim. So may we be in the steps of Moses, who was an elder, supreme elder in our community, who made mistakes, who came clean, who transferred his wisdom to the next generation. May we all be able to do that. May we have the wisdom and the people around us who can help us transmit that wisdom that we've learned and the contributions that we have made. So we're going to have something to drink. Any other toasts? It's going to take a lot longer. So how about if we sing this? Siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la, la la la. Ay ay la 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 la, ay ya la 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 la, ya la la. Ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la ya la la, ya la 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 la. Give it a little clap. Ya la 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 ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la ya la la. Ya la 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 la. Here's a leader. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la la ya la la ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Siman tov and mazel tov to all of us. And I guess, may we all live to the age that we are meant to live. And may we all live a life that is full of people and full of cheer. Amen, amen, amen. Yes. Shh. We have a... Yes. So we have a little bit of time to clean up and schmooze, but let's take the schmoozing outside. After you've finished with your form, you can leave it on the table. The white one. The white one.
And just a word, please, about the recycling, the composting, and the trash. All of the white paperware and the cups we have used are compostable. So please make sure those go into the composting. as is food. You can see the sign that says compost all food and below it, and then there's recycling and trash. So please be mindful about what goes where. Thank you.